Hello my friends and welcome to this edition of Chewing the Fat. My name is Andy Lehman. So today we're going to discuss the concept of nothing new under the sun. So what do I mean by there is nothing new under the sun? Now this is for people who are thinking of creating a business or a product. So for example like a digital product, an ebook, a video tutorial, a video course. What I'm trying to say here is that when there is nothing new under the sun, that basically means that you are free to create something that is similar to what is already out there, because it's very hard to actually create anything really sort of new and unique, and especially in this world where everything there's what 7 to 8 billion people are living on the planet, and out of that 7 to 8 billion people there are people who are all doing the same thing. They may have slightly different experiences or come from things from different angles, but basically all the knowledge, all the products, everything that you see, read or hear has been done before, and you are able to do it yourself. Now what we mean by this is that through copyright laws or rules, you are not allowed to basically take somebody else's work and pass it off as your own. So you can't take a book and copy and paste huge swathes of their content and pass it off as yours, because that's plagiarism. You can't take somebody else's idea particularly and create a product around somebody else's idea, because that is theft. However, not always the case, because let's take fiction as an example. For most fiction stories are written around specific tropes and experiences. Now, with 7 to 8 billion people on the planet, there is virtually nothing that you can create uniquely that hasn't been done or experienced by other people. Even if you were to create a space story, so for example, if you were going to create a fiction story that was set out in space, it's either going to be on another planet or it's going to be on a spaceship. You can't get copyrighted, or you can't get people suing you, because they also have a story out there which is based on a spaceship or on another planet, because these are, well, they're basically physical laws of the universe, of reality. These are things that we know. It's very hard to create something that is going to be unique and completely different to the norm. We humans, we need to travel in spaceships, or if you're going to do like Stargate, you might not be able to create a program called Stargate, but basically there are ways of traveling the universe that are probably similar, going through wormholes. So the actual way that you travel through a wormhole, or the actual way you open up a wormhole, could be completely different, and it could be a different scenario as opposed to Stargate, but the actual physics or the mathematics or whatever it is involved in that is going to be, you're not going to be sued for it, because it's what people do. I mean, a prime example of this, really, I should talk about this, and this is Agatha Christie, the famous crime writer. She wrote a story called Nothing New Under the Sun. I don't know if you know much about it. I won't give too much away, but Nothing New Under the Sun is where a group of people are invited to come to a big house on an island through one means or another, whether they've been offered a job or been told to come here. So there's a group of people have been invited by this person to this island just off the coast of the English, Devon I think it was. The place is called Soldier Island. And when they're there, the person who invited them isn't there. There is no host. But that's because the actual host was made up, and it's one of the people who is sat around that table. And that person is dying, and he wishes to kill the rest of the people or punish them for crimes that they have done but have gotten away with. Now, that sounds very much similar to the Saw movies, which actually has a man who is dying, who's been, I believe, has been good in life and done good stuff, same as the guy in the Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. He was a judge who done good stuff, punishing bad people, and he wanted to seek revenge on those who had done bad and got away with it. And it's exactly the same in Saw. So the story is that there is a guy who basically wants revenge on bad people, but unlike And Then There Were None, which is based on an island off the coast of England and several people, Saw is similar, as in the fact that the main character wants the same thing. Apart from it's in America, it's more modern, and he does things a lot differently. Now, the Saw films are good. I found them hard to watch because the logistics of it was all a bit crazy. having to hire and rent all these properties and build all these things. And he's supposed to be a dying man, and he's kidnapping people and all this. Like, it's kind of ridiculous. But the whole premise of the story is a dying man who's getting revenge. Now, I just found out that in 2018 there was a Turkish drama called Persona, which has a man with Alzheimer's who basically decides to punish criminals. I've not seen the actual drama, but again, here is a man who is suffering. And I'm going to assume that he was a nice man with had a good life and has been a decent chap. Here he is trying to punish criminals. And so, if you were to create a story, a fiction book similar to that, then you are not going to get into trouble, because basically, how many people do you know do have bad health or have been good people and who wish to get revenge? These are human conditions and human experiences, and these are things that happen. So, apart from actually rewriting or basically doing the same exact story, you can create something incredibly similar. So as long as the similarities and the differences are basically the same amount, so you can have similarities, but you also need differences. And as long as those differences are good in number, that makes that unique story. That makes your story a unique story, which basically means that you are creating something new. But, as we say, there's nothing new under the sun. The story is similar. How many stories can you write and create that talks about ill health or people getting divorced and having affairs? These are human things that happen all the time. You just change a few things around, change location, do something else slightly different, take several books, put them together, and you create a new story. So you can't really get done for doing something that is similar to other people, because they are human experiences. And so with the nothing new under the sun concept is that you should not panic or not worry about the idea that what you're doing is similar to somebody else, because there's bound to be similarities. It's the similarities and the differences that make a unique story. You can't, like I say, you can't just basically steal someone's book. So I couldn't go to get Agatha Christie's and then there were none and publish it under my name word for word, because obviously that's somebody else's work. But I could certainly make something similar with a few changes and make it my own. There is a story, another drama that we watched recently called Witness Number 3, and this is a story based on a woman if I remember rightly, she looked out of a window and saw a gang of youths or somebody get basically murdered, or someone walked away and then they were found dead. So the premise of the story is that she's the main witness and it's all about what she saw out of a window. Now, how many people do you know live in properties that have windows? How many times have people looked out of those windows and seen a crime? How many people do you know are a witness? So the fact there's all these people looking out of windows, seeing crime and witness to crime, you could actually write a story that is similar to Witness Number 3. Now the differences between Witness Number 3 and somebody else's story is probably the fact that Witness Number 3 had a couple of coppers, or a copper, who was bent, and while she was supposed to be being protected by the police, there was somebody out to get her. And so that's how the story unfolds. Now you could do something similar where the actual perpetrator was a copper, but again, it's the characters and the way that the story is written is going to have differences to Witness Number 3. Now, Witness Number 3 reminds me of a drama or a film that was, is it in the 50s or the 60s? And I think it's called Rear Window. I can't remember the name of the actor. It's a classic film. Basically, he's in a wheelchair with a broken leg, and he's got nothing else to do all day apart from sit and look out of his window with binoculars, and he's observing all the people in the tenements. It's a block of flats in sort of New York or somewhere, and he's watching everybody else, and then he believes he's witnessed a murder and then calls the police. So he is somebody who's sat in a wheelchair looking out of a window, witnesses what he thinks is a murder, and then calls the police. It's very much like Witness Number 3. Now, the actual story has been worked on and played around a lot for dramas. I've seen at least one comedy and 2 dramas here in the UK that have had a similar story, where somebody's looked out a window when they've been laid up poorly with a bad foot or an injury, and they've watched something and they think they've seen a murder, and yeah, so they've loosely used that story in their own edition, their own series, and so they've taken that. Now, because they've got different characters and they've got different sort of crimes or different stories, they get away with it because it's also unique. And yes, it is a nod to that film. And if they take it, if they actually created the same film using the same characters and the same whatevers, they would probably have to start paying licenses or royalties to whoever if it's still under copyright. But the point is that you can take a lot of the things that you see in this world and turn them into your own unique products. And that's the same for internet marketing, for digital products, for ebooks, anything that you read. So let's say, for example, here's a good example. There is a doctor, he's a journalist. I'm sure he was at medical school. His wife's a doctor, called Michael Mosley. Now, he does a lot of programs around diet, diabetes, health, and fasting. And he created a book called the 5-2 diet, I think it was. So basically you do 5 days eating, is it 5 days doing your normal food, then 2 days at 800 calories, blah, 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 blah. So like you have 2 days on a diet, the rest are feasting. And one of his documentaries, I remember him talking about fasting and feasting. So you have a day where you really limit your food, don't even eat any food at all, or you do feasting, where you just eat normally or eat as many calories as you want. Basically, it's all to do with doing fasting, 800 calories, the 5-2 diet. Only the other day I saw a book by a woman. She's a best-selling author. She is on Instagram, and she has a book which is about fasting, and it's about fasting using the 5-2 diet. So we've got one book here talking about the 5-2 diet, written by Michael Mosley. Then we have this other book written by this woman, which is about her experiences doing the 5-2 diet. Probably also including the same sort of research. She might have taken the research from Michael Mosley's books and other places, but as long as she's referenced it safely, then she's okay to publish it. But the point is, both books are talking about the same thing, but probably from two different angles. So Michael Mosley's is probably mainly all to do with research, the study of the 5-2. He's probably had people that he's kept an eye on. This one's a personal experience by a person who followed that diet, and it's talking about their experiences, how they felt, all that kind of thing. So basically it's the same topic, but from two different angles, and they are both best-selling books. Now I haven't heard of Michael Mosley trying to sue her for releasing this book, even though it's exactly the same sort of information. So, and that's the thing I want to get across, and that is in all the products, all the things that you see online. So like you might see I go to Udemy, you might see a course about coding. You go to Udemy, you might see a course about, let's say, massage, or you might go to all these other websites where people are selling courses. Once you know something yourself that is in the public domain that most people know or know of, or a lot of people know about, you are free to create something similar. You're just not going to take their content. You're not going to take their videos. You're not going to take their PDFs or their written content and copy it. But while you watch those videos, while you read those PDFs, that is research. And then as soon as you put it down onto video yourself, you film yourself doing something else similar, or doing what they've done. But if it's you and somebody else in a different room, or you write out what you've read or then it becomes your product. The only time something becomes really, really unique and protected is if that you are a scientist who is working on a theory, and you've come up with a theory that no one else has, or you've done lots of study and experiment and you come with these results that nobody else has got. That is basically completely unique. Everything else, well, it's nothing new under the sun. How many people do massage? How many people do mathematics? How many people do coding? How many people build websites? How many people write fiction that has to do with vampires? How many people write fiction that is romantic? There is nothing new under the sun. You are free to go and create as many different types of products as you want on numerous topics, numerous subjects, as long as you do not go stealing word for word or stealing other people's. It's like on YouTube, you can even take clips from films. As long as you're not taking the whole film and putting it on your website and trying to sell it and taking money out of the pockets of Warner Brothers and Marvel and all that. On YouTube, if you take like a 5-second clip and then do a review of that, it's kind of classed as fair usage. You're okay as long as you're not basically slagging them off too badly. But you can take clips and say from various Star Wars films, use them and overtalk them and make something unique out of it by saying, I thought this was flawed, or that was flawed, or this was spot on, and that was. You can do that. It's called fair usage on YouTube. I don't know the laws in and out, so don't Don't quote me on that too much, but it's the same principle like this. I'm now sat here talking to you about different books. I'm sort of making connections through these books, and I'm talking about these dramas and how there's nothing new on the sun. I'm actually also looking at certain web pages that are talking about similar things. So I'm taking the information from other places, but I'm conveying it to you through the camera, through this video, as myself. I'm not actually just using their content. I'm not using their words. I might use the points, but the points are out there in the public domain. You know, if you go to IDBM, is it that website that talks about films and dramas and TV and all that kind of stuff? If you go there, you'll probably find, I'm sure you'll find, if you do Witness Number 3, you'll find a write-up about it, including the cast, and there'll be an overview of the dramas. The same with the Saw films. If you go there and do And Then There Was None by Agatha Christie, it'll be on there. All the information is there. You're just sort of looking at it and talking about it. And you can go to websites, find information to do with fasting. You can go to research places, find all the information about fasting. There is nothing stopping you from talking about them or publishing products around them, as long as you reference the right people at the right time. But going back to sort of creating digital products, like I say, let's say you want to do something on Facebook marketing. Facebook marketing is not something that is only being done by one person in the whole world that is using a method that they have copyrighted or protected to themselves. There are numerous people who are running paid adverts and doing agencies. If you do something, if you start running paid adverts for people and they're working and you know that it's working, then you can actually create a training around it. There's nothing stopping you. Some bloke in America isn't going to come along and say, hey, you need to stop doing that because that's what I'm doing. You know, if you're going to use his results and his stories and his videos, then yes, he will stop you. If you pinch his product, there are websites on there, I think it's like Black Hat Forum and other places where they do take people's information products and then list them for free or sell them to other people. That is wrong. But if you are doing that yourself, then there's absolutely no reason why you cannot just create your own course. If you are writing blog articles, if you are writing emails for companies, if you are writing sales letters for people, then there is absolutely no reason why you cannot create a product that teaches others what you are doing. You can show what you're doing from your experience. It may be all the same stuff. Your sales letters will no doubt have the same headlines, sub-headlines, body parts, guarantees, bullet points. They'll have the same hooks and the same sort of problem solving and benefits and features as every other sales letter out there, because you know it and you can teach that. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. So there's nothing new under the sun. There's nothing stopping you from creating products to sell, whether they be fiction or whether they be factual. Apart from, as I say, you cannot steal word for word or whole products and chunks. You know, you may copy. I do remember there was a book, or somebody was creating a book and they was asked to stop using a specific term because it had been copyrighted, which I often find it irks me a little bit, because with the English language, thousands, millions of people use specific terms daily, like catchphrases. So I think it's a bit wrong when people can't use the same book title, but as it was sort of a logo and it was his logo, he had copyrighted it. But on the whole, generally there are, you can create the same similar product, you just give it a different name. I mean, there is stories out there, books out there which do have the same name. Sometimes when you do a Google search on a film or a drama, you'll find that there's several from different places, even in the UK or in America, they'd be similar. I did one the other day and it was giving me the wrong results. But generally on the whole, if you're creating a factual product or a book about something, then there is absolutely no reason why you can't create something that is exactly similar. You just give it a different logo, give it a different name, and use your perspective. But a lot of the information will be the same, because if that's what you're doing or what other people are doing, then it's in there in the public domain. It's not theirs to basically own. So if you're one of those people who are sat at home thinking, I would love to create digital products like training or ebooks, fiction books, if you want to do something but you're afraid of copyright, then just remember that really very few people are going to hound you for creating something that sounds similar, because most of the things that we do in this world are similar. How many people get up in the morning? How many people go to bed at night? How many people wear jeans? How many people eat vegetarian diets? How many people... There's so many people do certain things. You can't just suddenly create a character that wears jeans, eats vegetables, travels to America, and then some author comes along and says, you can't do that because I've done it in one of my books. It's kind of like, well, that's what people do. I wear jeans, I'm vegetarian. If I fly to America, then they can base it on me, not necessarily that character out of the book. There's so much out there that we all do. Like as I say, there's nothing new under the sun. So if you are thinking about creating content or products or ebooks or anything like that, just remember that you can use other people's ideas and concepts as long as you create it around your own or you use your own experiences. Just do not pinch people's content word for word or their products word for word. But there is absolutely no reason, if what you are doing is the same as somebody else, then it's yours to own. And that's the important thing to remember. So I'm going to finish this now, and I hope you found this Chewing the Fat interesting. If you did, great, I'll see you in the next video. If you would like to go to freedomskillsacademy.com/newsletter, sign up for our newsletter and you will receive emails from us regularly. And I look forward to seeing you in another video. Thank you very much and take care.